Welcome to Prep Sports Network. I am Brian Stanley. This is the Coach's Show. Joining me, as always, head coach of your Mission Prep Royals, David Schuster. Coach Schuster, welcome back. What an exciting week we had in Carpinteria. Things got a little tricky for you. Starting out, there was no JV game as anticipated by Mission Prep for whatever reason. You guys regrouped. Pulled some of the more skilled JV squad players up to varsity, give them some time in the varsity game, and you came out with a big win, 51-0 over Carpinteria Warriors, and we had a running clock the entire second quarter. Want to jump out real quick before I give you your thoughts. Colby White, Mama Leah's Pizzeria player of the game. 13 for 19, 4 touchdown passes, 1 interception, 252 yards passing. Now, when we picked the Mama Leah's Pizzeria player of the game up in the booth, Coach, all we see is the 4 touchdown passes. I get all these other stats once you go through tape and post it to Max Preps. So these are all great numbers for Colby White as he's progressing through his junior year at quarterback. Let's talk about him and let's talk about that win.
Yeah, it was unique circumstances, a little bit of a miscommunication with us in Carpinteria, but appreciate Carpinteria hosting us and the hospitality they showed us. We pulled up every JV kid. There's a few families that chose to drive home, and that was fine. We understood. And so we had every JV kid that stayed, we put in the game. And so it created in a weird way, some new energy, a little bit of fresh blood on the field where kids were just getting an opportunity to kind of have their first varsity experience, and that kind of pumped up the sideline a little bit. Everyone's having some fun there. So really, really pleased with how we played. In the Carp game, we essentially told our kids, hey, we really want to compete. We want to get after this, and if it gets out of control, then we'll call off the dogs and put everybody else in. So, it got out of control early, but it allowed us the opportunity to get some work on some things that we've been stressing for a while. We had a 2-minute drill at the end of the first half that I was very, very happy with because it allowed Colby and the offense the opportunity to work through a couple of issues. And then defensively, felt like we did a lot of really good things there. Jacob Butler in particular really stood out. Jaden Broyles on defense and on offensive line, really, really pleased. It was his first game that he got to play this year, so really happy with the way he played as well. Overall, very, very happy, very pleased with this win. Nobody got hurt, and, kind of onward and upward at this point.
I would say one of the things that stood out to me about the game, Coach, was first off, the punt game by Carpinteria was actually pretty well orchestrated. I know that you guys didn't really make any attempts to return the ball on the punt game, but their punter was able to get the right spin on the ball to push the ball in favor of Carpinteria if it went onto the ground. Yeah. And that's not something every punter can do in a game. Sometimes you get the ball bouncing back towards the line of scrimmage. Sometimes it ricochets out of bounds, but he was getting it downfield. And that's what you want to see as a punter. And the other one was a lineman for the Carpinteria that was just jumped out to me. And I'm trying to pull him up here real quick.
74.
Yeah, 74. Alfredo Lopez. I want to name him by name. Alfredo Lopez for Carpinteria. This team, it's taking its bumps and bruises. It's a young team. Has like 5 seniors this year, so it's a young team, and it is taking its bumps and bruises, but they have some highlights. The punt game was really strong. Granted, we don't know what the return game would have been like, but getting the ball downfield into, at one point he had a ball go down to inside the 10-yard line, which is good for the Carpinteria Warriors. And then, 74 Alfredo Lopez was doing some heavy work on defense going up against Caleb Alalem. Those are big matchups.
Yeah, we, the reality is those games are very, very difficult. In a lot of ways, it's a no-win situation. We signed the contract 2 years ago before COVID. Both schools decided to keep the contract, and at the time we signed the contract, both schools were in very different places.
Yeah.
And COVID hits. Post-COVID, both schools decided to keep the contract because it was just easier. And then by the time we got the film, it was obvious, man, we've elevated really fast, and Carp has not been able to keep up. And so, and honestly, Coach Robinson is rebuilding that whole thing from the ground up. And so we had very active conversations about changing the game, finding a different opponent, and logistically, like, hey, is this really the right thing to do to play you guys? At the end of the day, by the time we got to about midweek, both schools just felt, you know what, we're better off just playing this game. So we really tried to be very, very cognizant of that. Very, very, we want our kids to compete and play hard and get after it. And then we gave some other kids an opportunity to play pretty early. So, I felt very much like they've got some very tough kids. And I've been in enough situations on both sides of the ball where you're getting blown out, and then we've blown out other teams where the punt game, in those situations when you can tell, we don't usually field punts on purpose. And I won't get into all the reasons why, but I'll say two main reasons are, number one, more kids get hurt on punt than almost any other play. And at least in my experience, and just the angles get funky as soon as you start picking up that ball and you start returning it. It just opens up some angles for some kids to really get hurt. So we just generally go, especially if you've got a physical mismatch there, hey, we're not going to field the punt. We don't really, we're not interested in getting anybody hurt here. And then the other one, frankly, is we want to. Sometimes you field those punts and you've got a physical mismatch, and then you just kind of it almost feeds itself. You have several punt returns for a touchdown, and then it turns into first quarter it's 42-0, and it's like, dude, this is getting really, really out of hand fast.
Yeah.
And so, in an effort to be, kind of respectful, but also keep everybody healthy, and a number of other reasons as well, we don't generally field punts in those type of situations. So, and then frankly, from a personnel standpoint, or from a strategy standpoint for us, we're getting the ball back no matter what. And so we've always just told our punters, hey, just don't mess it up. And just know that no matter what, if you don't mess it up, we get the ball back. And that's the most important thing. So,
yeah, and I agree completely with your stance there. It keeps the game fairly balanced, and it does allow your team to face some adversity within the game as well, especially starting down in their own 10-yard line. That's some adversity that you wouldn't have been able to practice in that game if you would have returned that ball, because that ball would have been, at the 35, at least at the 35-yard line. Yeah. At the minimum, even with a fair catch, it would have been somewhere in the 25-yard line. Yeah. So I agree with the protocol there, Coach. And we're going to move on now after your fourth win. Let's back up too first before we move on. I do want to plug that it is your fourth win of the year. You're 4-0, and you're 4-0 for the first time in 11-man football. So you are climbing. You're climbing the ranks, shall we say, and making an impact on the Central Coast. I know you don't like to boast about your own accolades, but I want to plug that for you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's really it's a culmination of a lot of people working very, very hard behind the scenes, and grateful and thankful that, the program and the school have been as supportive as they are of me. And, kids really, had a coach tell me this one time, and it's absolutely true. Coaches don't win games, but they absolutely can lose games. Players win games. And so, that's where we're at.
Yeah, coaches lose game, players win game. I completely agree with that. Let's move on now. This is a segment that we've talked about, and then I started digging. First off, it's a photo segment, so you're gonna get to see some photos here. Haven't come up with a name. I guess we'll call it Peek In, because we're gonna peek into Coach's life. And Coach was at first a little timid, because he, as most high school coaches and teachers are, their personal life is their personal life. They're their classroom and their coaching life is their coaching life, and they keep those two separate because of the students. So I was like, is Twitter open fair game? And he's like, yeah, I'll let you have that one. And then I found all the photos that covered all the categories, coach, that met my criteria of my original vision. Because so they're public, they're already public knowledge. So that's why I felt like if I asked if I could use them, we're already good. So we're gonna start off here. Hopefully I don't mess this up with a screen share, because though I'm pretty smart with electronics, I'm still kind of novice at Zoom. So here we are with a screen share, Coach. Let me know if it works for you. This is our first photo. Let me tell you the date first. See if you recalls your memory. I'll tell you now, all the photos came from Twitter. April 7th, 2013. Okay. That is the date on the photo, and here we go. Okay, Coach, here is our photo. And for those who don't know what this is, here is your tagline for this. Turned in my gear and called it a career in the Marine Corps. What a ride. Never be the same. Semper Fi. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about this day and this moment?
Yeah. Oh man. So everybody signs everyone signs a contract in the Marine Corps. The last 2 years of your contract, you essentially are called what's IR. And you have the option of showing up every day, or at some point you just go, hey, you know what? I'm going to go start transitioning over to civilian life. And you're still kind of on IR, and theoretically you could get called up at some point, but generally you have that option at some point to just go, hey, I've served my 6 years, my 8 years, whatever your contract was. Those last 2 years on the contract, generally it's an 8-year contract, at least the one I signed. And so those last 2 years there were IR, and I was about halfway through IR, and I just felt very much like, man, this football coaching career is starting to take off. I'm enjoying doing some other things in my civilian life, and I want to start to kind of explore those things a little bit more. And I just felt at that point I was starting to transition out. There were a couple of young guys. I was the intel chief for 4th Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion, and there were 2 young guys who were really just starting to kind of take off that I was teaching, and I felt like it was kind of their time to take over the shop and my time to kind of move on and do some other things. And I knew I didn't want to make it a career at that point, so I think it was April, I don't remember the date, but I just felt at that point, I think I just woke up and I was like, you know what, I'm done, and grabbed all my stuff, drove it up to S4 and turned it all in. And so, yeah, it was an emotional day, no doubt.
And Coach, you say you turned your gear in to focus on football, and that leads me to my next photo. Okay. And this was posted on January 18th, 2015. And this photo will look very familiar to you as well, I'm sure. And this photo is tagged, the Grace Brethren varsity football staff has been awarded Coaching Staff of the Year by VCFCA, which is the Ventura County Fellowship Christian Association, if I remember correctly. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, excuse me. Fellowship of Christian Athletes. There we go.
I think it was, I can't remember the organization. Might have been VCS Preps or somebody, but yeah, it was us, and I don't remember who the large coaching staff was, but it was at the All-Star game. And yeah, we were nominated and we were selected. And I think that year and the couple of years prior, people had really started to notice what we were doing at Grace. Obviously, Coach Henderson kind of, forefront in that picture. There's a lot of really special faces in that picture. Brian Bergfeld is now the head coach at Big Valley Christian, doing an incredible job there. And Brian, frankly, taught me everything I know about offensive line. I coached with him for many years. Dan Lombardi, who was a head coach for a while as well. My brother's on the very far end of the other picture, and then Josh right there in the middle. in the gray. So just a lot of really special, and there's a lot of other guys that should be in that picture that aren't. But yeah, it was a cool moment. We got nominated and selected as small schools coaching staff of the year, and coming out of that, man, I keep in contact with most of those coaches almost every day. There's a lifelong friendship that I have with that Grace Brethren staff, because we did some incredible stuff and we put in some ridiculous hours, and it's just there's a very special bond there. I love all those men dearly, think so highly of them, and they've had a tremendous impact on me. So that was a very special moment. Very cool.
And Coach, the next photo is not pertaining to you directly, but we do have a new sponsor here for the Coaches Show, and that's Central City Motorsports, based out of Santa Maria, California, and they are specialists in Airflex air ride suspension. They are both a distributor and a installer for Autoflex air ride suspension, and Autoflex is both for is primarily for recreational vehicles, trailers, RV trailers, and things of that nature. The owner, Craig McDonald, a great guy. I've known him since my teens, and he's helped me along the way many times. He has a lot of experience in building just interesting projects. He did one for Shorty Rossi, who runs Shorty's Rescue. Might know him as the Pit Boss on the Animal Planet Network. And he converted an RV into a mobile rescue clinic for Shorty Rossi and Shorty's Rescue. So, and that was a complete RV, completely revamped, with a 3-table lab, or not a lab, but a clinic space in the back that is completely sterilized, and as if they were in a veterinary clinic. So great guy. Appreciate Central City Motorsports for jumping on board with us. You can visit them at centralcitymotorsports.com or 2345 A Street in Santa Maria, California, 805-345-3080. And Coach, here's a little tidbit that I just want to plug for myself. I designed Craig's logo there for Central City Motorsports.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
really nice.
And then I also designed his website for him to help him out, try to boost this new business he's starting. So I appreciate that, Central City Motorsports. Give them a holler, give them a shout out. They do some tremendous work over there for recreational vehicles. They also do RC cars, and they have street car polishing, especially for like that car that you see, that Cadillac, that Cabaret. Beautiful car. Moving on. Coach, here's our next photo, and this one is dated May 10th, 2019. And I know who you know who these kids are. Thankful for Braden Farr and Chase Jones. Faithful men to the end. Excited to watch them compete. And they went on to the next level, Dordt and Buena Vista University. Their impact has gone beyond the field, but we are losing them. We are losing 200 tackles and 14 interceptions combined. Tough to replace. Faithful men. Coach, I believe these are your first recruits from your program.
Yeah, they were the first two. And it really speaks to how special both of these young men were, that, we were an 8-man program and people still had high interest in these two young men. And, just very, very proud of both of them. They've got very distinguished careers here at Mission Prep. Braden Farr is highly regarded as one of the best leaders we've ever had. Chase Jones, one of the most accomplished careers we've ever seen. He did some incredible stuff for us, and he was a major part in our success in that 8-man season, the championship season. And I don't think most people realize, I think that 2018 season, more than any other reason, the reason we were so good because our defense was suffocating. And nobody could score 11-man or 8-man, because we had those 3 11-man games, and we were very dominant defensively in all 3 of those games as well. And Braden Farr and Chase Jones really kind of solidified the back end there. And it was it was a very special, very, very proud moment. It was kind of my first two guys. I was heavily involved in a lot of kids who went on from Grace Brethren, but it's always different when it's your program and your guys specifically. And I love those kids from Grace dearly. There's some special men. And but Braden Farr and Chase Jones are two very, very phenomenal men. Love them both, excited for both, and actively rooting for both. And and they've been on campus before. Kids love seeing them, love hearing about their stories, and it's an exciting deal.
And our last photo via Twitter is going to be October 27th, 2020. And any real Dodger fan would know that date because that's the championship date. And here's our photo. Yes, Dodgers. So much fun being able to watch it with Caroline. I was 3 months old last time around.
Yeah, I was born in '88, and the Dodgers won in '88, and so it was for COVID being such a crappy year, that was a pretty special moment to watch it with my daughter, and she understood enough of what was going on, and she and I were having fun, and so that last inning, she and I together were just kind of having a lot of fun watching it and cheering, and she was really into it, and my two daughters, Caroline and Diana, they mean everything to me. They really have, I will say, in the last 2 years, man, they have drastically changed my perspective on life. And my wife does an incredible job with both of them. I'm so deeply thankful and blessed that I have the three girls in my life that I have with my wife, Olivia, and my two daughters. And so, but that was a very, very fun, very special moment. Caroline's really picking up athletically what's going on. She loves going to football stadiums. We took her to the Fresno State Cal Poly game, and she loves going to all of our football games. So she's got an appetite for it too, which is cool.
And Coach, that is the end of Peek-In with David Schuster. I appreciate you partaking in that. I enjoyed it. I hope you did.
Yeah,
it was cool. I wanted to take a walk down memory lane for some of the people who may not realize your background as much as what they see at Mission Prep. Not everybody gets to sit down and talk to you like I have, or some of the parents have. So I appreciate that. Let's move on. We have a game coming up this Friday, October 1st. It is your league opener in the Ocean League, and it's against the Atascadero Greyhounds. You're on the road again this week, going up to A-Town to face the Hounds. And in the spring meeting, you were pretty dominant over them, and it was a 56-6 win, your biggest win of the season last year. And you handled the Dogs pretty well on your home field, but you're going up against longtime coach Vic Cooper, who has a lot of tricks up his sleeve and has been able to pull out a win this season when people have been looking at the Dogs as kind of limping along. And they're 1-4, but the Dogs are still the Dogs, and they can still bite.
Yeah, I've got deep respect for Coach Cooper and his program. It's a storied program, and I feel very much like last year we were able to take advantage of a couple things. His roster was really depleted from kids playing in a lot of other sports, and we kind of had everybody back except our seniors, so we were able to really simplify some things on offense, and we were able to take advantage of it. I feel very much this year probably is going to be a really, really interesting, very different story. Like you said, Coach Cooper, he's been doing this for quite some time. So the idea of them coming out and not being prepared is just not going to happen. I know he's going to have all kinds of different stuff ready for us. We feel that, this is a very good team that we have, and he's got everybody back. And he's got some dudes on that defense that we really have a lot of respect for, that we think can play, that are going to give us some matchup issues. And so, it's going to be really, really exciting. I can't wait to play there. I've been waiting to play there for quite some time, and that environment's going to be really, really fun and special. It's a great stadium, great people, great opportunity to really kind of showcase what we're about, but also compete against a really good team and kick off league. And so, league games, man, you got to throw out whatever preseason was and whatever you were doing in preseason. You almost throw it out because it's just, there's so many aspects that, the intensity ramps up. It means so much more at that point. It has, long-term ramifications. And so I fully expect we're going to see everything. Anything and everything is possible in this game on both sides of the ball. So we're excited for it. We can't wait to compete. They're a great program, historic program, and, just can't wait to get after it.
Yeah, some of the names that are coming back this year for coach or Evan Muscardi, quarterback, and he was, he might have been a little banged up last game, not showing everything he had, but this time around, I think he's going to bring the thunder with him. And then on defense, you're looking at CJ Bell being a threat, and along with Wyatt Mulhall being a threat for you. So they do bring some threats and some potential mixed matches on you on the defensive side. So you're going to have your hands full with Coach Cooper and the Hounds as you go up to Atascadero this weekend, or this Friday night, excuse me, not this weekend. Again, Friday night on PrepSportsNetworks.com, 7 p.m. PSNtv. The Atascadero Greyhounds host your Mission Prep Royals as head coach David Schuster looks to take the Royals to 5-0 in 11-man football for the first time in recent history. Coach, any final words before we sign off?
I'm excited, man. We can't wait to get after it. League's finally here, and hope everyone's out there at the game and waiting to see some good football.
And we appreciate you joining us as always. Go ahead and check out our sponsor, Central City Motorsports, at centralcitymotorsports.com. For everybody, Chris Sylvester, David Schuster, I'm Brian Stanley. We'll see you next time.